Hello? Okay, there we go. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for being here. We're about to begin the panel / talkback for Chasing Durham by Sandra Nelson. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Dr. Beth Pizzini. I am an assistant professor of instruction here at the University of Texas at Austin in the Department of African and African Diaspora Studies, and I will be your moderator for today. I would like for all of our panelists to briefly introduce themselves before I get started with my questions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kenedi Houston. I'm a student here at UT. I study political communications. I'm minoring in African Diaspora Studies and Business and Spanish certificate.
Hello, my name is Edmund Gordon. I've been here a long time. I'm an associate professor in the Department of African Diaspora Studies. Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Jones Yancy. I am the Educational State Chair for the Texas NAACP. I am a member of Lamarck Council, the first African-American woman to serve on a council seat in the city of Lamarck. I'm a third-generation Longhorn, yes, and a founder of the Malcolm X Lounge here on campus. Great to be here.
My name is Maryellen Hicks. Next year, I would have been a lawyer for 50 years. I am the great niece of W.J. Durham. His life, his story inspired me to become a lawyer. My grandfather, Bruce, was one of his older brothers. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Mena. I'm a researcher with the Campus Contextualization and Commemoration Initiative, work with Dr. Gordon, and we're working on commemorative landscapes, including a Heman Sweat Memorial entrance to Painter Hall in the gallery, so really highlighting and foregrounding the work of Black Texan civil rights leaders like Durham.
My name is Kathleen Anderson. I am also a UT graduate of the law school, and I have not been an attorney for 100 years like my sister Maryellen. And
When I finished law school, y'all. Just remember that.
my grandfather was also Bruce R. Durham, who was a brother of Willie J. Durham, who we called Egg.
Good evening, my name is Bruce Fannin III. My great-grandmother, Daisy Durham, was Uncle Willie's older sister. So we live in the same area of next to Hopkins County, where Uncle Willie was born. And I started off doing research on the family, and I think Sandra got most of my information there, so that really helped her along. So, thank you.
Thank you all. I'm gonna go and start with a softball, as my colleague and co-instructor, Dr. Gordon, likes to ask our students. And I would like to hear a little bit about your experience in terms of participating in this project, what it's meant to you, and what it has given you. You know, Durham is a figure that is very important to Texas history, but has been erased from a lot of the archives, a lot of the textbooks that teach Texas history. So what has participating in this project meant for you? Anyone can start.
For me, it's been an awakening to meet Sandra and my cousins has been phenomenal. So for me, it has been a journey, if you will, a journey of rediscovery. And it's so interesting though. I thought about it. All these children, you know, the other story, some of those Durhams left this state of Texas to move to Arizona and pass for white. We ought to acknowledge that. Texas was so damn awful as it is today, in my opinion, that they left this state and went to Arizona and then California. And when Bruce Durham, our grandfather, died, my sister Deborah back there will remember, and Kathleen, I asked my mother, because I got in trouble for it, who in the heck were these white people at my granddaddy's funeral? They were the ones that had left this racist state and migrated to other states. And I did a start telling them, we live in Fort Worth, Kathy lives in Austin, with Deborah Cookie and I live in Fort Worth now. And the Star Telegram was doing a story about strong clan member Thurman. And they wanted to know, they had met us and met mother, and my oldest sister was one of those first interviews you saw today, and she had taught at Syracuse University. And so I did the genealogy study, okay? And today is finding our roots for me. I want to go back to that. It's amazing, is all I can say. So, and that was not too softball though, because I think that this story needs to be told, okay? It needs to be told. And my dream was, it died while I was in college. And my dream was to finish law school. I'm a Red Raider, and I integrated that law school. First to graduate from Texas Tech Law School, and to go practice law with him. Unfortunately, that never happened for me. But my dream was to become a lawyer and practice with my Uncle E. I don't know where that name came from. I don't know if it's because my mother said he ignored her. My mother as a child, the black families know this, but we used to farm children out. Times were hard, y'all. And my mama was living with Ed and his first wife. I won't tell all of it. His first wife was Sherman when his office, all of the black business district was burned. And also, that's when he moved to Dallas. And I think at that point, everything changed. And it's so important to understand he filed at least 40 civil rights cases for the NAACP. It just wasn't one, y'all. He was a very, very courageous man. The Klan was, my sister back there telling me to shut up. Okay, I will. And don't tell them no family secret. Cousin Help, you know so much more, you know more than I do.
But that's important history. I mean, I think that's history that we need to hear. I am a Texas history teacher, and I can tell you for a fact, we did not learn. We never taught about Durham. I think it's important that this story is told because we're living in a time where now our history is being legalized to be erased. Right now in the Senate and the House, they are trying to take away our history. So, timing is everything. So I think that's why the story is so important when now, basically, for so many years as African Americans, we have financed our own oppression. And I'm a daughter of 1971, born in 1971, of integration. So I don't know about segregation. I don't know how that feels. So we're almost in a state of shock right now. So this story, your story, is laughable, but I'm listening intently because we don't get to hear that. I mean, you're the first graduate from the Texas Law School. I mean, that shows just how intelligent your family is. How amazing.
No, I didn't want to go home.
But we don't get to hear all those stories and how segregation kept us back.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think the story is important.
Yeah.
One thing, a friend of mine, Bobby McDonald, put together a book, Out of the Darkness, The Black Faces of Hopkins County. He covered all the black families of Hopkins County, which is around Sulphur Springs, Texas. And in there, he has the story of the Durhams of Sandfield. he interviewed family members and everything and put this together. And it goes on to tell, she said that, Maryellen said that some of the family past is white, and you can look at our background and just see a little bit of white. Said fathers of Henry Durham. Henry Durham was Uncle Willie's father, but Henry Durham, dad was Zach Durham, and Zach Durham was a white man, and he married his mulatto slave named Daisy. So that's why the Henry Durham could pass as a white man. And of course he had kids, and I had in my history, my family tree book, all the kids of Henry Durham. She had 10. Yeah, had 10 kids. And this is in my family tree book. And I'll try to pass some of this information on. I'm gonna get a copy of this book, which they have it in the Sulphur Springs Genealogy Library in Sulphur Springs, Texas. At the library, public library, they have a genealogy department, and they sell these books. And they got them down now to, they started off with $30 a piece, but now they're selling them for $10 each. So I'll pick up some books and get Maryellen one, and if somebody else need one, to give me your address. And we'll get that done. Also, back in February, our local newspaper did a write-up on Uncle Willie doing Black History Month, and gave a real good story on his life and what happened in Sherman and all the way up to the Supreme Court. So that was in our local paper. But, and hopefully we'll have Durham reunion maybe there in Sulphur Springs. I think Maryellen and my daughter Curlin, they talked about putting a reunion together for the Durham family.
We really need to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of y'all went to a reunion in Sulphur Springs with Aunt Pauline years ago. You remember that? We were all, in Sulphur Springs. And I remember going out to Eldon's dairy farm. Pat, another cousin that Sandra interviewed, who unfortunately can't be here today, she just had major surgery. And Pat and I were gonna buy some cows and go to the dairy business. Guess what? Granddaddy and Ed and Uncle Pat talked us out of that. All right. Y'all, dairy women, you're right.
Well, I feel like for a lot of you, because he's an ancestor, this has been very personal, and the journey to this project and helping Sandra make it happen and uncovering all these stories is very meaningful because of that. And has allowed you to connect to each other and to have this genealogical recovery of such a wonderful family. But I would like to hear then what the impacts of his work, how can we talk about it, how can we quantify it when it comes to Texas politics, because he's inspired a lot of you to, whether it be follow in his footsteps, get an education, work in civil rights, but what has been the impact of Willie in Texas politics and law, as you can, share with us?
I can maybe start by taking a stab at that question. Since I've been working on researching those histories, and certainly, like you said, he worked on over 40 different civil rights cases for the NAACP during his career, but I mean, it's important to sort of state on the record, since we're here at UT, that he absolutely laid the groundwork for the Sweat v. Painter civil rights case that at the moment when Thurgood Marshall was fighting it alongside Durham, they thought it was gravity board. It was the center of gravity for the whole country.
Precursor.
In trying to reckon with this, and everyone around the nation understood the significance of that moment, and Texas was certainly one of the most powerful places where that change could happen. Houston was a really important place. It was one of the largest chapters of the NAACP in the nation. And that was where change started. And so I think that's a really important part of the history of this place, and something to remember and know about. So you all who are here in the audience today are, engaging with that history here at this place.
Well, I think it was important because it was a legend in my family because my mother had lived with him as a child, and my grandfather loved his younger brother so much, and he would always talk about, I'm going to Dallas to see it. And we were in West Texas, kind of separated from everybody else. We were out in the west side. And it was known that every summer we were going to leave West Texas and we were going to go back east. And so we spent a lot of time back in East Texas the summers when we were growing up. And I don't remember Ed as well as my older sister, who Sandra interviewed.
Frances.
And who knew him. She's 11 years older than I am, so she knew him very well. But I do remember the caring that Aunt Pauline and my grandfather Bruce, how much they cared about their little brother, because they called him little brother Ed. So he was in the family, he was a legend because he had read law and passed the bar at a time when that just didn't happen. There wasn't a law school he could go to in Texas. So he sat with the judge in Sherman and read law and passed the bar. So he was actually a family legend. That's the only way I can put it. Was that everybody was told that you need to be like Ed. And so I think it led my sister Maryellen first, and then I went to law school, and my daughter is also an attorney.
Thank you, sir, for being here. Another native of the Twilight Zone, Odessa. See, West Texas has produced some incredible people. But the Waltons, my mother, Bruce Durham only had 2 children. We had, 3. The brother died young, you're right. You should be up here, Deborah people. But anyway, stand together. She should be up here. But anyway, and Kenny thought about law school. We have another, his second cousin, who went to law school. Thurgood Marshall, yeah. So, I've always thought that something should be named for W.J. Durham. I think it's an oversight. It really, really is. And Sandra, what you have done, inspiration is not the right word. It's more than that. We should never, never, never forget where we came from. Never. And it made me realize what an extraordinary family that I'm a part of. And for that, I'm really, really grateful.
Excellent.
He did offer to send me to pay for me to go to college. Then he added if I'd be a lawyer.
Yeah.
I was about 12-year-old. That scared me to death. One time I didn't been to Dallas was when we go to the fair once a year. So I majored in agriculture, something I do something about. So that's why let the lawyer know to you on.
But that's just the way he was. And I got out of undergraduate school in 3 years. But he was already dead by then. I wanted out of college and then law school so I could go and practice law with him. And like Catherine said, he was a legend. He was somebody we could brag about. And so you remember, to me, he walked with a swagger. He was the Obama, if you will, of that generation. Always immaculately dressed. Homie was together. All right? He really, really was.
Now, we'll add something personal. He had a beautiful home in Dallas.
Yeah.
And he had a swimming pool when people didn't have swimming pools.
He need bathrooms in that.
I remember going to that house, and he wanted to aspire to be big because he had that swimming pool. And from an early age,
And my mother drowned her in it.
my mother said we all had to learn to swim because we were going in the summer to Dallas to go to that swimming pool. So I remember that we were kind of thrown in the water and said, get out there and swim because you're going to use this swimming pool that's sitting here in Dallas. So that's just one of the memories I have of him. But again, I had a brother who's now deceased and a sister who older, and they had wonderful, really wonderful memories of it because they knew him longer.
I just want to say something about the swimming pool.
The swimming pool.
I found the house in Dallas and I filmed it, and they were actually refurbishing the home, and they let me go inside and film the whole house inside. And the only fixture that I found that was original that the new owner did not remove are the doorknobs. So I was thinking, all of you have been turning those doorknobs.
Yeah.
And it just made this connection. And so I took pictures of the doorknobs up close and just did it was a memorial of sorts for me to be in the house and feel the energy.
And it's still owned by one of Uncle Pat's granddaughters.
Right.
She was able, Michelle Durham, who lives in Grand Prairie. I hope she's been able to come today. But that's another, Uncle Pat had what, 3 children?
Uncle Pat, Marion was.
Maryellen. Yeah.
But the family called him Pat. I don't know why.
I call him Pat's gonna go travel. Because to me, it looked like Paladin. Y'all are too young to remember Paladin. That's how it looked to me. But Michelle was able, and that's another story. But anyway, she did purchase it after her aunt, who was basically Hicks' heir, because he had no children that he acknowledged. But anyway, I won't talk about that. Anyway.
So it seems like the impact politically is not just the fact that he was leading and really preparing these cases, but he inspired and really engendered a whole bunch of people to be politically active, to be aware, to fight, to continue the work. And so I would like to hear from Dr. Mena and Dr. Gordon what the work that UT Austin is doing to try to recover the history of integration and inclusion of Black students here, because I know that you've been working hard at it.
Well, there's 2 sort of major projects that we're working on. One is the Human Sweat Memorial Entrance to Painter Hall. Painter was the UT president during this case, so the named plaintiff on the case. However, he was also very actively involved in the eugenics movement too, so he has a whole sort of other history that hasn't really been explored. And so we're working on that and really showcasing this, it's a whole community of people. And I think the statement someone made earlier about, taking the journey together, and Durham was certainly a person who literally opened the door of UT Law School, and by default every law school in the South, in the country, really opened the door to what led to Brown v. Board. So he's certainly part of that. And so I think that's something we really want to highlight and showcase is this, Maceo Smith, the Hobart Taylor family, all kinds of folks, Lulu White, Juanita Kraft, all kinds of folks who came together across Texas to really make those changes that started here at UT.
And with that lawsuit, you thought the doors of law schools were going to open. Well, they didn't. They started I think it probably was 1 or maybe 2, a colored law school in Houston. All right? And eventually, we were able to go to these other law schools like UT and Tech and all the rest. But the interesting thing about that, I understand the number of law students of color in this state is declining at the present time. And I think for me, the proudest moment I ever had in law school in constitutional law, which was the best grade I ever made in law school, was when they discussed Sweat versus Painter and talked about it. And the professor, I don't know how he knew it, knew I was related. I was a great niece of W.J. Durham. So I guess because Captain didn't want to be a lawyer then, but I always did. So I think he was more meaningful to me, I think. And for me, he did walk like Obama. He had the swag. Here I am, come and get me. Which I thought he was just an incredible man. Incredible man. And I'm so happy, Sandy, that you, through your work and research with these professors and everybody else, has brought him back to life for many of us.
Dr. Gordon, can you maybe contextualize the course that this project really started in, Power and Place in the Making of Texas History? Why was this so important to you?
One of the things about history that's important to me is that it's a way of taking from the past lessons for the present. And one of the unfortunate aspects about the history of this institution and the history of the state is that these are histories that are produced by a certain set of people who have certain interests. Oftentimes we think that the histories that they produce are problematic because they consist of lies or misinterpretations of the past. But I think what's even more important than the lies that are passed for history in standard histories of the nation, the state, the institution, are the silences, the hidden truths that get erased in the histories that get told. The course I teach and this contextualization and commemoration initiative that we're involved in now is more about bringing out or filling those silences than it is about anything else. The course teaches about the history of Texas by stating the truth, taking what's been erased and putting it out in front of students, and constructing a new notion of what the state is and what our history is as a means of thinking about how we should move forward by erasing those silences. One of the things that's so important about Sandra's work is that is exactly what it does. As many people here have already said, the history of Durham is, there is none. It's not there. It's out. It's erased. It's forgotten. And so what the film does, or the video, and what panel does, and what I hope we have many more events and many more products to do is to bring out of the silence the truth about one man and how he impacted the rest of us in terms of constructing the world that we want to have. Sandra shows other students how it can be done. There are other student products. We're involved in it. The commemoration projects that we're trying to...
But also even things like institutions. What would...
The case that went to the Supreme Court. And it's ironic, but in the end, it says here that it's being ironic that we're here at the University of Texas because it said this case gained the right to attend the University of Texas Law School. That's what the case was about. The integrated law school at the University of Texas, which I'm sure everybody studied that was lawyers. So,
Interesting enough, he was what never became a lawyer. He started, I think he dropped out, and I think he worked for the United States Postal Service. Yes. Yeah. I agree with Councilwoman. I have been the beneficiary of 2 appointments by Democratic governors of this state to judicial positions. And I know the justice system, I think, it is evil, it is racist, and it's also life support. And if we don't, the only way we ought to be in the criminal justice system is the judge, the court reporter, the bailiff. I am sick and tired, like Fannin used to say, of seeing us in that system. We cannot beat it unless we're in it on the right side of the bench. Colonel, I'm gonna take what Dr. will take questions.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, I'll open it up to the audience for questions. Yes.
Hi, my name is Israel Anderson, and I'm the husband of Kathleen Anderson. But it strikes me that there are a bunch of things going on here. First of all, and this isn't a criticism, it's just a fact, it's reality. Everybody in here pretty much looks like me and the rest of us in here.
Yeah.
And most of the folks in here are family, okay? Or related to Sandra in some way, connected through the university to Sandra. This is a school of 50,000+ students.
Where are they?
Let me talk. I just saw a bunch of them sitting out there when I went to get some coffee a minute ago. Okay? We're supposed to be in here telling everyone and ourselves too about this great American and what he did to benefit all of us and so many others. And yet the story is, I'm going to say, unless Sandra can get national acclaim and get on every channel on TV, this story is likely to stay below the radar, okay? And so what I'm going to say is to the three professors here, you asked the question to the panelists in terms of what they thought about what you could do or what they could do to help you, what guidance they could give you. I want to know from you all, what do you think about being in a state and teaching at a university and having a legislature threaten to eliminate lawfully your right to teach American history? Because they're talking about eliminating anything relative to diversity, equity, and inclusion. They are already attacking gender rights. They use this term CRT to cover a whole range of things that most of them couldn't even tell you what it means or define. They couldn't define it if they tried. So what do you all think about that? You're in this institution of higher learning, and your very jobs could be on the line if you can't teach the things that you're talking about teaching. Let alone teaching about W.J. Durham or anybody else. You know, he's not the only one. My great uncle was an attorney during this period of time, and there's been an article written by a young student out of Pomona College because he attended undergraduate school there after leaving Houston-Tillotson right here in Austin. It was then Huston, not Tillotson. They hadn't combined. But he went to Pomona to go to school and get his 4-year degree, and then he went to Harvard Law School and graduated from there in 1907.
Wow.
And practiced law for over 40 years in Houston. And the article that is about him is titled "The Erasure of M.C. Winston Dixon." And you could talk about W.J. being erased because I know what that means, what that is like. My great uncle has been erased.
I would like to address the question about this actual platform. It's not a project, it's a platform, and it's multi-leveled. And it is dependent on unity. First, the numbers will come. And it's perfect for me because I stay the course. I'm not in a hurry. I will go the course. And I will continue to knock on doors because we've been doing it for the last 20 years. And so I'm just thankful for the course, Power Place, and the making of Texas history that provided a platform to build a platform. So I would say for anyone that may have a relative or something that they're passionate about, you have to find a platform that is powerful enough to propel you and what you're seeking to do to be recognized and to make an impact. And being that we have an amazing collective here, the voices are big and can reach far. So I challenge you today, let us not allow this platform to stand still, for it is for the empowerment, not only just for Black, colored, Negro, Afro-Indigenous, Latina, Asian, and all those oppressed peoples, but it's for the international collective. For many are looking towards the United States and have been looking at the United States for quite some time. So let us be whom all of those great leaders who came before us established for us to do. And Lawyer William Joseph Durham has to be one that I was raised with, and who is also a great uncle, and whom I was talked to quietly in the corridors and was stated not to tell anyone too loudly because of the era that we grew up in Texas. And I have a story within the University of Texas of the abuse within the system, within this system. So thank you. We're not quiet. We aren't going anywhere, but we do have to pay it forward. We have to. So whomever it is that you have in your family, your lineage, or that you just adore, connect with me, connect with another, and bring all of those giants together. It's not about me. It never has been about me. I won't be here forever. But I hope to empower those that come after me. Thank you.
I don't know if you want to answer the question, Dr. Mena, Dr. Gordon.
Well, Brother Anderson is calling me out because basically I'm the only tenured faculty member up here. So it seemed like the basis of your question is, well, what do I think about what's going on in the legislature? I'm a Black man in the state of Texas. I probably think the same thing that you think. Now, right, and beyond that, a lot of people tend to think or want to think about institutions of higher education as being separate from the rest of society, the ivory tower and all that kind of things. But really, we're a reflection of it. And in the state of Texas, the University of Texas at Austin is a driver of what happens in the rest of the state.
Yes.
What's happening right now is that there are some forces that have been with us for the last 300 years, right? That have had ups and downs, but that have found a way through economics and politics to place themselves in a position where they no longer have to hide their unvarnished. You can say the white supremacy. I don't even say racism, I'll say white supremacy. Or anti-blackness, really, when it gets that right down. All right, so on the one hand, as an intellectual, it is important that finally it's clear for everyone to see that what we've been talking about, what I've been talking about for the last 30 years, this institution is really true. Because for a long time, many of our people didn't even believe it. No, we got Obama, we got this, we got that, et cetera, et cetera. Black Lives Matter movement, everybody's in the street, et cetera, et cetera. Now, it is true that they're conspiring for my job, but they're conspiring for our lives. All you have to do is open your eyes and look and see all these young people getting gunned down in these various places.
Going to the wrong door.
For going to the wrong door.
Wrong driveway.
Now, sometimes they're white, and sometimes there's something else, but what behind that is anti-blackness. This nation is armed to the teeth. Why? Fear of black people. That's what's going on. So whether I lose my job or not, compared to the other things that are happening, the mobilization of huge amounts of financial and political power, the military mobilization of the white population, let's call it the paramilitary mobilization of the white population, combined with that of the police, we're all in trouble. So it isn't just about me and I'm going to lose my nice job. I'm probably not going to. But we collectively, as a people, in this state, in this nation, we're in real trouble. And what this demonstrates is that as hard as we struggle, you know, we've got the example of Durham and his struggle, and that of, you know, Bledsoe himself and what he's been doing, and Kimberly here, and what I've been trying to do in this institution for all these years. Where has it ended us up? With the legislature making laws against us being able to speak the truth. We need to adopt some different kind of strategy because the old ones have not worked. We need to think about what we're doing. I wish it were just about voting. Right? I wish it was just about voting. We're in real trouble. So you know, it's your fault, Brother Anderson. You know, you lose out. I don't want to end up in a pessimist place, but we in a lot of trouble. We in a lot of trouble. And we need to do some deep thinking.
One of the things that I have so much respect for Dr. Gordon. He was such a catalyst for us on campus 30 years ago, but he's absolutely right. As the first Black councilwoman in my small city of 19,000, I am being stalked. I have been harassed. I'm in court right now dealing with a person that identifies with 3%ers. And it's been quite scary. I have never, ever dealt with this in my life. So people are going, you know, that pendulum has swung back to where the threat of being hung. I have 3 African-American boys and a daughter. They're all between the age of the 20 and 28, and they've been followed. My dog was poisoned. This is all since June 2021. Why? Because I dared to run for office.
And when?
In Lamar, Texas. And so I go to court on Monday to basically talk about the terror that my family has endured since speaking up, since doing some of the things that we've done on campus. It is really getting scary. But what we do have, though, that we, you know, God was looking at what's in my hands right now, is the power of the vote. We've got, Texas is now 54% majority minority state. 54% of us are Black, white, Latino, Black, Latino, and other, 54%. And they're afraid, some people are afraid of that, right, that dynamic. But we don't know what we already have, and we're not using the power that we already have in our hands. And you're right, we are trying to do something different. We have an African-American coalition that is trying to set up what you're talking about, that infrastructure, that structure to do something different, because we're being hit so differently now. And I agree with everything Dr. Gordon said, but you are the academic, right? That helps, to come up with the structure so that we can implement it. And we are in trouble. And I ask that you pray for Black politicians and our state president, all of the state that are standing up, because our lives are indeed being impacted and threatened.
Any other question from the audience?
I just would, did either of the other professors, I have to step out of order, but did either of the other 2 professors, to include you, the moderator, have a response to my question?
I mean, it's an incredibly scary time, because even now, as these laws are being deliberated, I never know if anything that I say in my classes is going to be used against me in the future. If it's going to get me a conservative op-ed, if it's going to get me stalked, if it's going, I live with that fear quite a lot, and it's horrifying. And I'm just starting out. I'm an API, and within the structure of UT, that's just a fancy adjunct. So I'm not a permanent faculty member. So having this be my first, professoriate type of experience has been somewhat of a trial by fire, not only because of what I can experience in the classroom, because I do obviously have conservative students, I have students that don't know anything about Black people or Black history or Black culture, and so I take that job very seriously of teaching them. But also the political structure of Texas and how it's coming under attack. You know, how they're calling everything that I teach CRT, even though I don't teach CRT, because I'm not in the law school. So it's been quite a hard but still gratifying experience, because I have students like Sandra who take up what we teach in the classroom and, you know, take it outside of it. That has been very rewarding to me in this whole experience and has given me hope. You know, I have students that pay attention to the news. You know, a lot of people talk badly about how these Gen Z kids are not, you know, reading the newspapers, they're not aware. They're very aware. They're very aware of what is happening in the ledge. They're very aware of what their governor is saying, what the lieutenant governor is saying. And they're out here ready to fight for us, to fight for Black studies, to fight for Mexican American studies, to fight for women and gender studies, whatever it may be that is under threat, because in these classes, they find a lot of value. They find a lot of self-discovery and truth. You know, that's something that we've talked about here today. So it's a mixed bag of an experience, but I hold on to having students like Sandra, having the ability to do this work the way that I want to do it for now, as it is under threat, but I take that and just run with it wholeheartedly.
Well, since you asked all of us, I can chime in. I think I would just say, if I've learned anything from working across these histories and teaching these histories, one of the most important things is bravery. You know, Durham had his office burned down by the mob. I mean, so the law was the law was the mob that burned down the county courthouse. That was the ruling law of the day, and lynched someone. So that was law. And the fact that Durham taught himself the law and confronted that day in, day out, you know, and just looked at it in the eye every single day. I mean, that's nothing compared to what we're facing. I mean, the same problems, but it's a different circumstance. So I think those are important, and that's worth teaching as long as you can, and that's why I do that. And also, you know, even in the research about this institution, about cases that are very well known, like Sweatbeat Painter, I'm still combing through, you know, dozens of unprocessed boxes and uncovering those histories and the way that those informed national processes that we still don't even know yet. So there's still a lot of work to do.
Yes. Maybe not a question, but a statement or a comment. Just listen to all of the rich stories that you have. We talked a lot about going to law school. I didn't go to law school, but I did go to school and get my doctorate degree. And just knowing the rich history that I come from with my great-granduncle Willie, it definitely inspired me to continue on with this journey. One thing that we don't talk about are the other cases that he fought so hard for. One in particular, Booker T. Washington, all the educators, the Black educators fighting for equal pay. Once I started doing my research, growing up in the house, hearing my family members talk about Uncle Willie, you get into studying and learning more and more. And coming from a family full of educators, my mom's educator, my aunt educator, all of you all, just many of the teachers that paved the way for you, all the learning experiences that you had. It definitely resonates with me to know that I'm in this field of education where we have this platform. Being able to have a seat at the table, to have a voice. We have to continue to do that. I work in K-12, so when we talk about the textbooks, we talk about the history, what's being taught in the classes every day. I hear it. I'm there in the building. I'm living it every day where they're trying to erase it and take it out, modify it, adjust it to make it fit what it needs to fit so that we don't get our coattails pulled. But I say this to you, Professor Cologne, because you spoke to me when you said living in fear. We are not a people that lives in fear. We walk by faith and not by sight. We are protected by Him above. We've had a long journey of fighting an uphill battle, but we have survived. We are here. We have a voice, and our time is now. And I'm appreciative of the trailblazers here on the stage that allow for us to walk down this path. We got a long way to go, but we're going to get there. And we're going to continue to pray. We're going to continue to stay together. We're going to continue to stand behind our sisters, Sandra Nelson, this great work that we're doing. The millennials that are coming, they have a voice. And as long as we stick together, we can go far. So thank you for the work. Thank you for trailblazing. All the great stories that I heard about Judge Maryellen Hicks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's an honor to be before we're going to Houston for 20
It's an honor. It's an honor
No work.
to be here today and be among you. So thank you. Thank you very much. God bless.
Oh, now Deborah's going to say something.
I know that you're out of time, but let me just tell you, and my brother-in-law put you all on the spot as educators, and I hate that he did that, because you are brave and you are courageous. And as someone who, my great uncle inspired me to run for political office, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and I lost each time, but I lived. They just took cameras down at my house because I received so many death threats.
That's right.
So, Councilwoman Yancy, I understand what you're going through, but what you all did today is what keeps me moving every day. Your courage does not go unnoticed, and we will have your back, is all I want to tell you. And thank you for doing what you're doing and for inspiring so many people, because you're the reason that we all exist and we all do what we do.
Thank you. Well, if there are no more questions, comments, I would like to wrap up the Q&A here. TalkBack panel. It's been an honor to support Sandra and to be here with all of you today. And so, yeah, we have an art exhibition that's also part of the experience today at the Eastwoods Room. I believe that'll be set up in a couple of minutes. We also have Dr. Gordon giving a racial geography tour to those of you who are interested. And yeah, our reception will be at around 4:30 at the Gordon White Building. So
4, I think.
4, yes, 4. 4 p.m. Make sure to get there. There'll be some food and refreshments. And yeah, thank you so much for being here for Sandra and for each other. Thank you.